Hey, fourth grade. Hope you guys are doing well. So we are getting ready to jump into week number 4. So go ahead and grab your packets for week number 4. And I am going to go through the packet along with you guys. So for this week, you guys are going to be able to see the exact same packet that you have in front of you. All right. So we're going to start with day 1 of the week 4 packet. Now, great news. The content in this week is all about rocks and minerals, which you guys know we were actually in the middle of studying before we got out of school. So this should kind of be a refresher for you guys. And then we're also going to be learning some new content this week as well. All right. So as far as day 1, the only thing we're going to be doing today is we're simply going to be introducing you guys to the unit. We're going to be going over some important content vocabulary. So that's all we're doing for today. And then for tomorrow's video, you'll come back and we'll do our first read of the text, and then we'll read and respond to some questions about the text, okay? One thing that I will say before you watch this video, when we're going over the content vocabulary, there are a couple of pages. Let me show you those. So this page that talks about geologist, and this next page that talks about studying the earth, which is what geologists do. These are the 2 pages you're actually going to read before you watch this video to go over the important vocabulary, as well as the KWL chart, okay? This is another page that you will need to read before watching my video, okay? So head over to Miss Rose's channel right now, pause the video, head over to Miss Rose's channel, and then you will be able to see her reading these 3 pages about geologists, okay? So do that first. All right, now we are going to fill out our KWL chart. Now this should be kind of easy for you guys, especially since we started talking about rocks and minerals before we got out of school. So you guys should actually know quite a bit about rocks and minerals. So you should have a lot to fill in for this first column. So now that we have studied a little bit, we've read those first 3 pages, now let's write down some things that we already know about rocks and minerals, all right? So go ahead, call out some things, write down some things, and let's share out together, okay? All right, so from reading the previous 3 pages, one thing that I do know about rocks and minerals is that geologists study rocks. That was clearly put on the previous 3 pages. Geologists are basically scientists that study rocks. They also study the earth itself, okay? Something else that I know from reading the previous 3 pages are that rocks can form fossils. This was also something that we talked about before we got out of school. Rocks can form fossils. Something else that I know about rocks and minerals, I know that rocks are made of minerals, okay? And the last thing that I'm going to write down on my chart, something that I know about rocks and minerals, I know that rocks and minerals can be used to make bridges and roads. I think we discussed that in class, and it's also written on the previous 3 pages, okay? Awesome. Now, it's time for you to think of what things you may be wondering about rocks and minerals. What are you wondering about them? So think to yourself, what's something that you might want to do some more research or find out more about rocks and minerals? What are some things that you want to know or that you're wondering about? Some things I'm wondering about that I'm going to put on my chart are, how do rocks change? I know that rocks don't remain the same. all the time. I know that they do change, but I don't know how they change. So I'm going to write down, how do rocks change? The second thing that I'm wondering about is, how are fossils formed? I know that rocks can form fossils, but I don't know how that actually happens. What is that process? So that's what I want to find out. I want to find more about in this unit. Next, what minerals are actually found in rocks? That's a great question. I know that rocks are made of minerals, but I want to know the specific minerals that form rocks. The last thing that I'm wondering about is, what are other things that are made of rocks and minerals? We talked about bridges and roads, but I know that can't be the only thing that rocks are used for. So in this unit, I'm hoping to find out, what are other things that rocks and minerals are used to make. Okay, awesome. All right, so make sure you fill out your chart, and then we're ready to move on. All right, so now let's talk about some of the important vocabulary that you guys are going to need for this unit, okay? So it says at the top, now you will learn new vocabulary words that will help you understand what rocks and minerals are and how they are formed. For this activity, there's 3 things that we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is read the word and its definition. If you look at your chart there, the word is in the first column, and then in the second column is where the actual definition is. Now, the third thing we're going to do in this activity is that we have to examine the picture that helps to describe the meaning of the word. So you'll see the picture to describe the word or the meaning of the word in the third column. The last thing we're going to do for this activity is, once we've read the word, its definition, and we have examined the picture, the last thing we're going to do is use that word, that vocabulary word, in a sentence. And the reason why we're going to do that is going to clearly show that we understand the word's meaning, okay? And before we get started, I want to remind you guys, when we're coming up with when we're trying to use the vocabulary word in a sentence, this is not where we are going to write down the definition, okay? So we're not going to say a geologist is for our sentence. No, you're simply giving the definition. That's not what we want. What we want is for you to create your own sentence that uses this word, so that we can make sure that you actually understand what that word means, okay? So let's do one together. Let's do the first example that they have here for us together. So the first word that we're looking at is geologist. The definition of a geologist is a person who studies the earth and what it is made of. And you see in the third column there is a picture of a geologist. And it looks like that they're standing next to maybe like a big rock, and they're kind of looking at it, they're examining it. So clearly that person is a geologist. The sentence that we're going to use geologist in is, Zabion wanted to be a geologist so he could study how earthquakes and volcanoes affect the earth. So notice the way we use the word geologist in this sentence lets us know that we clearly understand what a geologist is. We didn't give the definition again. We used it in a sentence to show that we know what the word means. All right, let's move on to the next word, mineral. A mineral is a solid that is formed in the earth and is made up of one type of element. And if you look there in the third column, you'll see different rocks there that are made of different minerals, okay? Those are minerals. So now that I'm thinking about what a mineral actually is, now I have to really think about, how am I going to use this in a sentence to show that I understand its meaning? For my sentence, I'm going to say, The land is rich with mineral deposits. That means that the earth, the land that we're actually living on, has several different mineral deposits. Okay, that lets me know that I understand what a mineral actually is. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one is actually a phrase, and it's the phrase depend on. Can you guys say that for me? Very good, depend on. When you depend on something, it means to rely on or need it. For example, a tree depends on water to live. So you see there a picture of a tree that's being watered. Why is it being watered? Because it depends on that water to live. For my sentence for this vocabulary word, I'm going to say, I depend on fruits and vegetables to keep me healthy. That means I rely on them or I need them. Okay? All right, you guys ready to move on? Move to that next page. We have 3 more vocabulary words here. The first one is element. An element is one of the basic substances that are made of only one kind of atom. Once again, an element is one of the basic substances that are made of only one kind of atom. So to show that I understand what the word element means, for my sentence, I'm going to say, oxygen is an element that we need to breathe. Oxygen is one of the elements, and we need it to breathe. All right, the next word we're going to go over is atom. You guys see that? Very good. An atom is the smallest particle of a substance that can exist by itself. So think of any substance and think of the smallest particle of that substance that can exist by itself. For example, copper is an element made up of copper atoms only. So you have the element copper, but that same element is made up of smaller copper atoms. Okay, those very small particles, those are called atoms. To show that I understand what this word means, for my sentence, I'm going to say, there are 2 hydrogen atoms in water. If you think about it, H2O, that makes water, right? 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. So there are 2 hydrogen atoms in water. All right, excellent. For the last vocabulary word, we have the word crystal. A crystal is a small piece of a substance that has many sides and is formed when the substance turns into a solid. And then here they show us a picture of a crystal. All right. And to show that I understand what this word means, I'm going to say the beautiful vase is made of crystal. Okay. All right. So if you guys have any questions about the vocab, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Ms. Johnston, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Come back tomorrow so that we can do our first read of the text, and then we're also going to be answering some text-dependent questions. All right. Thank you guys for stopping by, joining in. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're staying safe. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye.